camera because it's facing the wrong way. So hold on 1 second while I turn my mount around. And then hopefully, there we go. That's more centered. Oh, goodness gracious. Okay. There we go. I don't know why sometimes my phone likes to film facing up and sometimes facing down. So crazy technology. Alrighty, but here we go. Oh my goodness, please don't do this. Okay, hopefully now we're good. We look okay. We look okay. So we're gonna jump right in. Here's the card that we're gonna make. Check that out. There's so much shine on here. And this card is really fun. At least it was fun for me to make because I used some fall themed Gina K Designs StampnFoil products and turned them holiday style. And in the background here is a toner card front from Unity, which again is not Christmas themed, but when I foiled it with some, oh my goodness, I always get the name wrong, glittering greens. I always want to say dazzling green. I think dazzling is the gold color. So glittering green, but look at, it's so pretty. And then there's the foil. These are actually sunflowers, but depending on how you stamp and color them, you can absolutely change the look of so many of your products. So I hope that this card is going to inspire you to use your autumn themed products and maybe even some summer themed products past when you're technically like not allowed to, but you know, fall themed products, a lot of times we put away once we start getting colder and we start making holiday cards. But I hope this inspires you to kind of keep them out. I am looking for, I see people here. There we go. I was looking for the video to pull up on my computer so that if you have any questions, you can ask. And I couldn't find it on my computer, but I see a couple of people here. So I knew that the video was live. Here we go. I have it now. Okay, we're going to go ahead and jump right in. Let's take a quick look at the products that I used. I already showed this one. This is actually a Unity toner card front. This is the Paisley Dreams. And then the focal point here, these pretty flowers here, these are actually from the Gina K Designs StampnFoil graphic sunflower set. So if you take a look at this stamp set, this is pretty much, you know, if you look at this, you would think of fall. You think of sunflowers, and you can put them on their little, are they called a stem? If it's tall into the ground, I'm not sure. I'm not a botanist by any means, but you'd think of this as a fall set. I also used the leaves on my card. These leaves back here, I think that they are, again, I'm not a botanist, but I'm pretty sure these are supposed to be oak leaves. These are the thankful leaves from the Gina K Designs Thankful Leaves StampnFoil set. I thought these could definitely be poinsettia leaves. Poinsettia leaves have those kind of points on the end. So I thought, why not mix these two products together and kind of stretch my fall stamps, dies, and the detail foil sheets to create a holiday card. Then I grabbed a couple of my favorite foils for holiday cards. I used glittering green and gold sequins. This is gorgeous on a chunky foiled background, but you're going to see it's pretty even on, I use them on the sunflowers. So you can see how when you turn this, you get, sometimes you can see chunks, sometimes it looks flat, sometimes it's chunky. It's a really fun effect that you get when you use, I like to call them chunky foils. See how it has like those sequins in there? And then I'm even going to pull in some flock because down here on the bottom, this is actually flock and the texture is so hard to catch on camera. But in real life, when the recipient grabs this card, they're going to feel that it's fuzzy and it's just, there's a lot going on, but it's a pretty simple card. So I see there's a bunch of people here. Let's dive right in. And as always, if you have any questions about this project or anything else, ThermOWeb or my crafting style, feel free to ask. I have the video pulled up so I can chat and interact with you guys. Let's get started with the stamping. So I'm going to grab my Gina K Designs graphic sunflower stamp set, and I like to use a MISTI. You do not have to use a MISTI, but I like to. I grabbed one of the detail sheets. I keep everything together in my little stamp pocket. So I grabbed one of the detail sheets that have the flowers. And I'm going to pop that right in the corner of my MISTI. And I'm going to line up the solid stamp, so like the silhouette style stamp. And excuse me if my head gets in the way. You're going to see my big bald head. But you just want to line that up right over the top. And then I'm going to do the same thing for the little flower. And again, these are meant to be sunflowers, but we're going to stamp them in red and turn them into poinsettias, which are, to me, like a really classic holiday flower. I'm going to make sure that that's back in the center or in the corner of my MISTI. And I'm going to grab a red ink. I'm stamping with dye inks that I have. This happens to be a Simon Hurley Create dye ink, but you can use whatever ink you have. Later on, when I stamp the leaves, you're going to see me switch over to a hybrid ink. Different ink serve different purposes. For this purpose, I'm just doing some straight stamping, so I just went with whatever colors I happen to like the best. I'm going to stamp that one more time. I always like to double stamp. I just find that it evens out my inking. And then we're going to do something a little bit fun. Ooh, I better clean the lid of my MISTI because I have ink down here. It doesn't matter if it's down there, but I definitely don't want it to get where I don't want it to be. I'm going to give that just a little bit of a clean, which I probably don't have to because I'm going in with another red now. But I wanted to give a little bit of dimension. So I'm going to grab a slightly darker red ink. And I thought about using a blender brush, but I'm just going to go straight in here. I'm just going to add some ink towards the center of this poinsettia. It's going to look ugly. Do not worry. We will fix it. I guess I could call it a sunflower, but for the purposes of this card, it's a poinsettia. Okay, so it looks a hot mess. Now's where I'm going to take my cloth and I'm just going to dab away, kind of fixing those harsh edges. And this is going to give me just some subtle color. And I will do this again because I think I might have taken away too much color. I gotta move that because I keep hitting that. I'm going to go in one more time. This is just going to give me some subtle shadow and dimension. I love solid stamps, solid like silhouette style stamps like these, because there are so many different things you can do, including shading with ink. So again, I'm just going to go in, kind of soften those edges, and this is going to make some of the petals darker, some of the center darker. And it just gives a bit of shadow. Very subtle. That's it for stamping for the flowers. So I'm going to set those aside, and I'm going to move on to the leaves. Now, the Thankful Leaves detail sheets have two different styles. So one has the outline and so whatever is black here is going to foil. So one is outlined and then one just has those veins going up the middle. I'm going to use both because when I created my sample card, I couldn't decide which one I wanted to do. And when I can't decide, I just use it all. So we're going to stamp those really quickly. Those are going to come together even more quickly than the flowers, I would say, and the flowers were pretty quick. Let's find, here's the Thankful Leaves, and I just need this one oak leaf stamp. This one's going to take a little bit, the stamping itself is quicker, but I'm going to be stamping 4 leaves. So I'm just going to line up, again, I'm sorry if my head covers the camera for a second, but see how I just lined that stamp up right over that detail sheet? Pick that up. I'm going to make sure that's in the corner. Then I'm going to go in with an olive colored ink. And this one is a hybrid ink. Again, I just chose my inks based on the colors that I wanted to use, not so much the formulation of ink. Now I'm going to come in at the bottom and just add a darker ink. This one's more of like an evergreen shade. And again, using my towel, I'm going to blot some of that ink off. And that's going to give me a dual toned leaf. That was a little bit harsh, so I'm going to go over that one more time. That kind of softens that a little bit more. Give that leaf a wipe, and I'm going to move down or I guess up. Let me flip this down here. I find it easier to work towards the bottom of my MISTI, so that's where I do most of my stamping. And again, I'm just going to line this right up. It goes together so quickly. I'm going to do the same exact thing. Ink with my olivey colored ink. And then come in with my evergreen and kind of come up from the bottom. I won't go up as far this time, that way there's even more variation. And then pounce some of that ink away. And there we go, 2 leaves. I'm gonna grab my other detail sheet from the Thankful Leaves and rinse and repeat. I'm gonna line this one up here. This one has that black outline. So I wanna make sure that my stamp is pretty much within the lines, but if it's not perfect, that's okay. These are handmade cards. Does not have to be completely perfect. Doing the same thing. So you can see that this is a card that you could definitely, even if you want to do a bit of modification, you could mass produce this for the holidays because it's going pretty quickly. I'm all about quick cards. For those of you who maybe are new here and haven't seen me craft before, I'm a stay-at-home mom. I do work from home, but I have a 5-year-old. He just started school this fall, so he's in school right now. But as you join me, you might be seeing him more often. The teachers in his school district just announced today that they're going to be going on strike. So you might be seeing him. For those of you who have been with me on my lives for a while, you remember him sticking his hands in and crafting along with me. He absolutely loves foils. So he might be making some guest appearances in my videos in a short while. I'm going to pop those inks away. Stamping is all done. Okay, I hope I pronounced your name correctly, Jerry. You're asking about the detail sheets. So the detail sheets are what go along with the Gina K Designs StampnFoils. Let me grab them out for you. And you're going to see how they work in the next step as we do some foiling. But these are the Thankful Leaves detail sheets. So what they have is a detail element. All of these black lines are printed with toner. So they are going to foil. You don't have to use them in conjunction with your stamp set, because if you notice in your stamp set, you have the same elements. So you could stamp the outline and then the fill-in, which is what I just used, and then the veins of the leaf, and just have a regular stamped leaf. But what's special about the detail sheets is that you're gonna be able to get some extra oomph on your cards. It's going to foil with any color foil that you want, of the Deco foil, the Gina K Designs foils, any of the heat reactive foils, and all of them on the ThermOWeb website will work with the detail sheets here. So instead of just having a black outline like it looks now, we're going to run it through our laminator and foil, and you're going to have some foil details. Same thing with that sunflower that we just stamped. So you can just, with the sunflower stamp set, where did I put it? Stamp the outline and fill in with your flower. But if you use the detail sheets, you're going to be able to add pretty foiled goodness. So all these black lines, they're going to foil. So let's do that now so you can kind of see that in action. Let me put these away so that they are not in our way. Now I have some foiling tips for you. What I like to do before I do any kind of foiling is to give my panels a wipe. So in this case, it's important because we did stamping on top. So any ink, I know that this one I didn't line up perfectly, which is okay. We'll hide that on the end card. But there is probably some ink sitting on top of that toner on the detail sheet because I didn't line it up just perfectly. On top of that, your fingers have oils in them. Your house, I'm sure if it's like mine, has dust in it. So any kind of particle in the air or oil on your fingers are going to make it, it's going to interact with the foil and interfere with the foil. So to get a more perfect foil, you're going to want to give your toner sheets or your detail sheets like these just a quick wipe. I'm using my scissors, and I'm going to cut out the images that I want here because I'm only using just these 2 on each of these sheets. And you could foil the whole sheet if you want to, but I'm not sure what I'm going to do with those other ones. I'll use those on a different project. So I'm going to leave them as they are. So I'm just going to do some quick rough cuts because we'll die cut these. I know it looks ugly now. It'll be pretty on the finished card, pretty and die cut. But for now, I'm just going to do some rough cuts around. From that graphic sunflowers detail sheet, I also grabbed a couple centers. And I'm going to foil all of these with the gold sequins Gina K Designs Fancy Foil. So I'm going to open this up and grab, I just need one sheet of foil out. And I don't even know if I'll use the whole thing. But I'm just going to start laying these on. And for my parchment paper, I have a piece of Deco Foil parchment paper. It's my favorite. A foiling game changer for me. I wonder if I can get all of these to fit on here. Wouldn't that be just lovely if I could? I might have to go in and trim some more. Oh no, I'll have no problem fitting them all on here. I call myself an artist, so for a card making artist, I am horrible, absolutely horrible at looking at something and visualizing the space that it takes up. So I always ask my husband, I'm like, will this fit on a card? And he's like, yes, of course that'll fit on a card. So there we go. That fits all on one foil sheet. I'm going to run that through my laminator, which I already have heating up. I'm going to just pop this right on through. I like to make sure that my laminator is nice and hot. So I turned my laminator on. I knew I was going to be doing some stamping and prepping for my card. So I turned it on about 5 minutes before my live. Usually I turned it on about 15 minutes before because I like to have it heating up for about 20 minutes, which is where we're at right about now. You're welcome for the explanation. If you have any other questions, feel free to ask. So while that is running through, I have a Unity toner card front, which works just the same way as those Gina K Designs detail sheets when it comes to foiling. This background it looks black, it's printed in a black toner, and you can add any color foil to it that you want. My other pieces are coming out of the laminator, and they're my laminator likes to eat things sometimes if there's any interference at all, and it ran into the cord of the laminator. So I had to quick save that before anything catastrophic happened. So just like those, the detail sheets, I'm going to take my cloth. This is not the same cloth that I use to clean my stamps. I should mention that. It looks dirty, but this is a clean cloth that I had in my drawer. It's clean, it's dry, and I'm just going to wipe this off, removing any oils from my fingers and any dust that may have been in the atmosphere of my house because I know that it's there. I'm grabbing another color foil. This is the Gina K Designs Glittering Green. Like I said, I'm horrible at seeing if things can fit or not. And I always keep my extra pieces of foil in the packaging so that if I need just a small piece of foil, I can grab it. And I was hoping that would fit, but it won't. I'm going to cut a piece that is slightly larger than what I need, just so that if there's any shifting or anything in my laminator, it's still going to foil the whole design. And I'll pop this piece in the back. This glittering green would be great to go on those leaves too. That would be really pretty. Alrighty, here's our first foiled pieces. I'm going to set that to the side to cool, and I'm going to use that same parchment paper. I'm going to make sure that that is nice and smooth and run that through the laminator. Alrighty, so here are the pieces that I just foiled. That's nice and cool now. And I'm going to peel these off. Yay! I'll show them all to you up close once I get them all pulled off of here. Now, this looks like there's a lot of foil left over, and there is. So I'm not going to throw away this piece because maybe you can see, it's hard to see, but there's a lot of empty areas in here that I didn't foil with. So I'm going to keep this with my foil, and I'll use up this piece for when I have maybe just another little piece of something that I need to foil, or when I use alcohol inks. I often like to rub foil over the top to kind of cover up any of my wet alcohol inks that are left over, so I don't waste anything. I'll keep that foil and use that for something small on a later project. I think yeah, there we go. All right, so let's take a look at these. These are the centers. And I mean, so here's what the detail sheets do. I love that gold sequins foil because you can see when you shift it just right, you can almost see like all those sequins in there. Sometimes it looks like just a flat gold. Sometimes there's that holographic in there. Super pretty. And then the flowers are there too. They're all nice and foil. It's hard to catch the light because I have my light kind of pointed away from me so that it doesn't glare off of my work surface. I know there's a little glare, but trust me, it could be a whole lot worse. And then the leaves too. Like, check those out. They are so pretty. Let's go ahead and die cut these really quickly. I'm going to use the coordinating dies that go with the Stampin' Foil sets. All 3 pieces are sold separately, so you can get whatever you want. And as soon as this live is over, I will go back into the video description and leave a link to all of the products that I use. So if you want to shop these products, you can. I'm going to line this up as best I can. Like I said, again, if it's not perfect, that's okay. And we're going to be covering up a lot of the leaves. So sometimes the bottom of the leaves are hard for me to line up just because I can't see them well, but we're going to cover them up. So it's okay if things are not perfect, which is something that has taken me a long time to learn through my crafty journey. Is if things aren't perfect, you take a big breath and you make the card anyway, because anybody who I'm sending a card to knows that I made it by hand. And so they're not expecting perfection. So I shouldn't either. And you shouldn't either. I have so many of my crafty friends say, oh, I want to send you this card, but it didn't turn out perfectly. And I'm like, send it anyway. I will love it. It doesn't have to be perfect. So I'm lining these dies up, and I'm taking a piece of purple tape, just one little piece for each one, and I'm going to tack that in place. This formula of purple tape is pressure activated. So you just want to give that a little press, not anything major. You don't have to like CPR it. I'm going to bring my die cutting machine in here. I know it's like huge, so I'll go quickly cutting these, quick as I can. I have 4 leaves, and what I should have done, because I always prep things in advance, is foiled them and die cut them, and I did not think to do that. But these are, so here's the little poinsettia sunflowers, all cut out and perfect. I'm going to throw away that piece of garbage there. And then I have one of the centers here. Again, so pretty. And then the leaf. Oh, and that's a pretty perfect die cut, if I do say so myself. I think I have one more center and I put that die away. Oh well. Again, I'm sorry if my head is right in the way, but when you're lining up dies, you know, we're all crafters. When you line up dies, you want to put your head right over the top to make sure that you're lined up straight. And yeah, I do have another circle. A circle center. This is what's going to take up the majority of the time for the card. The rest of it, pretty simple. And I have some tips for assembling when you have multiple die cut images, because I love to save time. And anything that can make my life a little less stressy is a good thing. I have a little dish next to me that I'm putting all those die cuts in. That's one of my big tips. If you are like me, like I'm a pretty organized crafter, but I do lose things, especially small things. And as much as I would love to blame the recent eye surgeries I've had, I can't do that because it has been an issue for me for many years of crafting. So I got just like, I have a little dish, and that's where I'm going to throw my little die cut pieces. And that way when I go and I'm ready to assemble the card, I can just grab my little dish and all my die cut pieces will be there. Last little leaf. And then we'll take a look at that toner sheet background. There we go. That didn't take too much time. I'm going to put that back so that nothing gets lost. And we'll look at that toner sheet. Here we go. I'm going to peel it back, and the way I like to peel back foil is to grab a corner and kind of peel it back on itself, just like you do when you do masking paper. Oh, and it's gorgeous. It's so pretty. I hope that you can kind of see all that. Yeah, you can definitely see all that foil, all that shine. So pretty. And speaking of not wasting anything, don't throw away this piece, because you can use, ThermOWeb has just plain toner sheets, and they're all black. The whole thing is printed with toner, so you can kind of get a reverse look of this, or you can add some double-sided adhesive to your card front and put this over the front, and you'll have a 2-for-1 design. So definitely don't throw that away. I have a basket where I keep all my foils. So now we're ready to kind of start building our card. And as I was building my sample card, which let's see if I can find that. Here's my sample card. Now that I'm done die cutting, I can put that there. I realized that I wanted to have some kind of something at the bottom of my card to kind of break up my design. So that's where I used this flock and this red piece of cardstock. And you know what? I think my camera got knocked. So let me just fix that really quick. That's much better for me. Anyway, I hope it is for you too. So I'm going to cut this down. I'm just kind of going to guesstimate. I don't do any kind of real measuring, but I think I cut this to about 2 inches. That looks good. And that's going to sit right at the bottom. And then I decided I wanted something else, like some kind of pattern. So I grabbed my ruby red foil, or flock rather, ruby red flock. And we're not done die cutting, but that's okay. I love flock because it's fuzzy. It's so hard to see on camera, but it's fuzzy, it's textured, and there's a whole bunch of different colors that ThermOWeb has. And it die cuts, which makes it really fun to use. So I grabbed a cover plate die. This one is from LDRS Creative. It's the Modern Trellis cover plate die, but you can use any cover die that you have, or if you have like kind of strip dies that would just create a fun little background pattern. Really, I just wanted something extra on my card. Oh, good, Tina. I'm glad you found my little dish tips helpful. Anything that can kind of take away the extra thought processes, that's good for me. So I'm going to line this up on my cover plate die, just kind of making that straight. I'm going to trim some off with my paper trimmer, but then just run this through my die cutting machine, and it's going to cut beautifully, just like cardstock. In fact, when I use cover plate dies, I often find that it's better than cardstock because it doesn't get stuck in my die. Let's just brush that off. Oh man, there we go. Got it. And we'll get rid of this guy because he's big and cumbersome. And this just like falls right out. Done. It's really, one is in there. Oh, of course, it's going to make a liar out of me. Done now. It comes right out. It's so easy to just pop right out. And then even the pieces here, like all you have to do is just run your fingers over. And you know how sometimes cardstock, after you use your die a whole bunch of times, gets stuck in there? The flock doesn't. So it's textured. comes in lots of pretty colors, and it doesn't get stuck. So it's a win-win in my book. I'm gonna now just adhere this onto my piece of cardstock. Let's line this up and see about how much I need. Let's see. Yes. Okay, so I want to kind of make sure that this is straight on here, so when I take it to my paper trimmer, I can probably just use scissors. Okay, I'm using my iCraft Ultra Bond liquid adhesive in the pen. I don't know if you can see how skinny of a line I'm able to get with this Ultra Bond pen, and it's easy on the hands. It's so easy to squeeze. It takes like no effort to squeeze the glue out. It's a thin line, and I know it's going to hold on tight. So it's a great, and this is newer. I don't know if I would really say new. It's been out for a couple months. So yeah, I guess new. I love it. I'm going to put this right onto my cardstock piece, and I'm just trying to make sure that it is straight-ish. Looks good. Maybe from the back, not so good. I gotta bump that down. There we go. I'm gonna give that a press. The glue dries pretty quickly, but what I like about it is that it doesn't dry like instantly, so you do have a minute to kind of squish things around, but then it dries quickly, it dries clear, and it dries strong, which is awesome. So there's my little textured piece, which is not straight, even in the least, but that's okay. We'll cover that up with the flowers. I'm going to now take this, add just a little bit of adhesive, a little goes a long way, and I'm going to put this at the bottom of my foiled toner sheet. Lining that up. I'm going to try to get that centered-ish too. You can see me kind of wiggling that around. Then I'll give it a good press from the back, and that glue I know is going to hold on tight and strong. And then I'm going to use my scissors and just trim away the excess. And that's just going to kind of break up that gorgeous pattern that's in the background with the foil. It's going to break that up and give that somewhere to draw the eye into. Now I have just a strip of white cardstock, and I'm going to go on here. I'm going to add just a thin line of that Ultra Bond adhesive and cover up, I call it the seam, the paper seam. I'll press that from the back. Excuse me. The weather has finally changed here. Oh my goodness. I have so much, I have glue on my craft desk. I should probably grab a wipe and wipe that off. The weather has finally decided it's going to be fall, and my throat just doesn't agree. It hung on to summer for so long. And I'm in Pennsylvania, northeastern Pennsylvania, like almost to New York. It's never 85 degrees in October, and yet it was just 1 week ago. Alrighty, now I'm going to be able to switch this over and chop off the overhang. You can use your paper trimmer if you want, but honestly, I prefer to use scissors. So now is where I'm going to grab my little dish of supplies here, and I'm going to start arranging. I'm going to start with the centers here. And you can see, maybe you can see, I kind of goofed on my stamping here. So the ink got a little bit into the center, but that's okay because I'm going to cover it up with one of those pretty foiled centers. Tina, you definitely need to get the Ultra Bond. I have been a huge fan of the Ultra Bond adhesive. And then when it came out in this pen size, I was so excited because it makes it a lot easier when I'm adding like little embellishments. I can hold the glue in my left hand and like my craft pick in my right hand. I love it. So here's how I kind of just played around. And I'm going to try to hide my mistakes. So my stamping mistake is in this corner. So let's see, I'm going to put that down here because I know my sentiment is going to go this way. And I'm going to try to cover that up. Now my leaves, remember I had one that foiled the outside and one that only foiled the inside. So I want one of each on each side of my arrangement. So what I like to do is lay everything out and tuck everything behind each other the way I want it to be. I think that looks pretty good. Maybe tuck this one a little bit more in. And then I'm going to grab my thick purple tape. So this is the 1.5 inch width. And I'm grabbing a piece that's just about long enough to cover my whole image. And what I'm going to do is just quickly press this down onto it. Give everything a press. And then pick everything up all at once with that purple tape. This is going to let me grab my Ultra Bond liquid adhesive pen and kind of lift a little bit and squeeze some glue underneath all of these different areas while it's holding everything in place. And I'm going to be able to then have one embellishment rather than 5 separate pieces, which is really fancy. I'm going to go ahead and just add my adhesive all over the backs of all of these pieces. And then I can pick this up again using my purple tape handles and put this right back down on my card right where I had it. And then I'm just going to slowly peel this back because this is a low tack tape. The tack was good enough to pick it all up at once and hold it together, but then it's not going to rip anything as I'm peeling it off, which is super duper nice. So there's the start of my card, and all that's really left to do is add a sentiment. So for my sentiments, let's see if I can find the stamp set that I used. I went out of the Gina K Designs StampnFoil sets for my sentiment because the StampnFoil sets are meant for fall. So I went into my stash and I found this is a newer one. This one just happens to be from Pretty Pink Posh, but I just wanted to have a scripty holiday sentiment. So I stamped and I die cut Merry Christmas. And I'm going to pop this up because those flowers are flat and everything else is flat. I want to pop it up with some foam just because I like foam, but you definitely don't have to. You could glue it down if you're mailing this. In fact, you might want to mail it down. But I grabbed my big jumbo foam tape roll. I like the white and the black for 2 different reasons. Black is great if you're working with black cardstock, but since I'm using like white here, I'm going to go with the white. There's 2 thicknesses, 1/8 of an inch and 1/16 of an inch. So this is the thicker. This is the 1/8 of an inch. And I'm going to cut a piece off. I'm going to grab my nonstick scissors since I'm going to be cutting right into the foam tape. And it's too thick for my sentiment, but that's okay because this tape cuts pretty easily. And I'm going to cut, again, trying to eyeball and see how thick I need to go. But I think when I created my sample card, I was able to just cut right up the center. Yes, that looks great. And then this little piece left over, I'll put right about here. And then I do need a tiny baby piece over here on the M just for support. That's good. I'm going to start with my backers and just peel them off. The backers on this is very easy release, which is great. And I'm just going to, let's see, I think we're going to go right about here. And here with my Mary. I'm going to make sure that's straight-ish. Straight-ish is what I aim for. There we go. That's it, you guys. I am done. Let's hold this up to the camera, which I am just noticing now looks a bit blurry. And I don't know why, because it looked okay. So I hope it's not super duper blurry for you guys, but that's my card. Check out all that shimmer. There's that gold sequins in there, which I'm trying to catch just right. There we go. You can see those sequins. And then the glittering gold in the background. Isn't that so pretty? And I love that I stretched my supplies, used those autumn Stampin' Foil sets to create a holiday card. So there we go. All finished. Does anybody have any last minute questions? If not, then I will see you guys again. I'm not sure of my exact date for my next live. I'm not sure. Check the, if you're not a member of the ThermOWeb Craft Room, which is our Facebook group on Facebook, you definitely want to join in there, because I share sneak peeks when I'm going live. You'll see a sneak peek of the project, and then you'll get reminders of when I'm going live as well. So you're going to want to become a member of our ThermOWeb Craft Room. And then also be sure to check the ThermOWeb Instagram page as well as the blog, because they share sneak posts or sneak peeks of when I'm going to be doing a live tutorial too. So thank you so much for being here. I hope that you're all inspired to pull out your autumn themed products and continue using them throughout the holidays. Thank you guys. I'll see you soon. Bye.